Shabbat Shalom. It's good to have everyone here with us this evening, both in the sanctuary and with us live streamed. And as a congregation, move this a little better. We know that our numbers will increase as the time goes on, as people are never exactly sure how long it takes to get here. So we are celebrating Highest Refugee Shabbat this evening, amongst other things, and I am honored that we have Rabbi Jeffrey Salkin back with us tonight. From whence he began, his first pulpit was here in 1981 as an assistant rabbi. So we are going to begin our singing right now with Hine Ma Tov, in being thankful that we are all together, page 10. And we will be singing where you'll be repeating after the cantor for part of it, right?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And we'll warm up our being together and enjoying one another.
Okay, I'm just waiting for some sound. Testing. Here we go. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. Let's try together. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. Here we go. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is
to be together on this day. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is
to be together on this day. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Hine ma tov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov umanayim shevet achim Kam Yahad.
This Shabbat is a time for celebrating Shabbat and Rosh Chodesh Adar, the new month of Adar, a time for joy and also a time for quiet and for mourning and for praying for the release of all the remaining hostages, living and dead. This is a month of intermingled feelings and emotions of joy and sadness, uncertainty, resilience, resolve, and renewal. This year, Adar, which includes Purim, can be a month to control our rage and our anger and to turn them into acts of love and kindness. Tonight is also Refugee Shabbat, a time to consider our obligations to the stranger, the refugee, the immigrant, and the asylum seeker. Acts of love and kindness matter and can lead to joy and happiness for those who are struggling. Why do we have a Refugee Shabbat every year? To be a Jew is to know the heart of a refugee because our people were refugees too. On this Refugee Shabbat, we commit to creating a world of justice. On this Refugee Shabbat, we commit to creating a world of compassion. And on this Refugee Shabbat, we commit to creating a world of welcome. We are going to continue now with the song Oziv Zimrat Yah. It's on page 343 in your prayer books, but I'm going to ask you to sing it or hum with us as those who would like to come up to light our Shabbat candles. Again, we light 3 candles, 2 for Shabbat and 1 for the hostages, as we've been doing every week since October 7th of 23. So we're going to sing Oziv Zimrat Yah until we're ready to do our blessings.
Come light candles. Oziv Zimrat Yah, Vayhi li lishua. 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Good Shabbos.
Shabbos. At this time, I'd like to invite Mark Lamb to come up to share some words with you. We have a lot of things to share with you, of things coming up in the near future and over the next few months as well.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
First, I just want to say how pleased I am and how honored we are to have Rabbi Jeffrey Salkin here with us tonight. I actually welcome him back to Temple Israel, and I'm excited to hear what he has to say to us later in the day as well. So I'm happy he's here. Just some quick thank yous. Thank you, Pat Seymour, for the beautiful music, and Valeria for your technical support. The flowers this evening have been donated by our esteemed congregant, board member, Mark Teitelbaum, in memory of Joseph Teitelbaum. Thank you, Mark. Tonight's oneg is sponsored as well by a generous anonymous donor. So if it's one of you, thank you. And whoever that is, thank you. We appreciate that. I am excited also about March 9th, because March 9th, if you're at 10 a.m. in the morning, if you're available, I'm going to be available for it. There's a Zoom, not to say conference or meeting or conversation with Rabbi Don Cashman, who was a rabbi here from 1983 to 1985. He was an assistant rabbi, and he is a Reform rabbi who has made Aliyah to Israel, and he's going to be speaking about his journey from Temple Israel to the land of Israel as a Reform rabbi. So that should be very interesting on March 9th. And tomorrow, of course, is our services are at Beth David at 9:30 a.m. Joseph's Table Torah Study is at 12:15, which is also available on Zoom. And I think the rabbi is going to speak to you about Purim and some other sundry events. Oh, you may have noticed, by the way, in your email, in the email, you may have noticed that you can still register. We would appreciate that for Purim. The rabbi will speak about that further for the Seudah. But also, Passover is coming up. I know we're a little early. It's only nearly not even March, but it is coming up. So we always expect a big crowd for the Seder. So please, if you're ready for it, register for that as well. I want to wish everybody a very happy and beautiful, peaceful Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
So there are several elements to Purim, and since we're at Rosh Chodesh Adar, we're approaching Purim. We're going to be celebrating Purim 2 weeks from tonight with a Purim Spiel, Wizard of Oz Purim Spiel, that many people are participating with us for that. And there are several traditions for Purim. One of them is to hear the story of the Book of Esther. That's the Purim Spiel, with some of the Megillah being chanted as well in there. Another one is to help those in need. And so we are continuing our food drive to help those in Homestead, some of the workers there who are really struggling and really need our help. So they've been taking down the food that's been collected every week or two, and we are continuing it through March. There's much more information that you can find on the website and all with the foods that they really need of non-perishable things to help them. People are afraid to go to the store and to go out, and they need our assistance in this very difficult time. And with Highest Refugee Shabbat, it fits in perfectly. The other mitzvahs are to have a meal of celebration, and that is our dinner, which will follow the spiel on the 14th. If on the 14th, if we don't have 25 people reserved, we don't get to have a dinner. And so please consider coming and being with us. And we have till next Friday to have our reservations in. So we'll be working on that some more. But the idea of celebrating together on the holiday, along with, it'll be a very abbreviated service and the spiel, and then the meal is a major part of it. So hopefully, I'll be writing more about that and sharing more, but hopefully you will be able to help with that as well. So the other things coming up, just very briefly, are, of course, the Passover First Night Community Seder, on the 12th, the Saturday night, the 12th of April, and then the community concert that Cantor Nelson has been working on with Dr. Alan Mason for Sunday the 27th, and then we have our congregational annual meeting and celebratory day on May 18th on Sunday, confirmation on May 30th, and then June 6th will be our big celebratory Shabbat. We'll be having Shabbat services through all of June. So I hope that you will come together with us and spend these meaningful times together as we move forward in these next few months. So we are going to continue now with Shalom Aleichem on page 24. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni, everyone. Baruchuni L'Shalom Malachei Hashalom Malachei Elyon. מי מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא צאתכם לשלום מלכי השלום מלכי העליון מי מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא מי מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We continue with the Baruch Hu, the call to worship, page 28. Please rise.
La 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ברכו את אדוני המבורך ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד Lai lai lai, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, lai lai lai, ya la la la, ya la 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 la.
When justice burns within us like a flaming fire, when love evokes willing sacrifice from us, when to the last full measure of selfless devotion we demonstrate our belief in the ultimate triumph of truth and righteousness, then your goodness enters our lives and we can begin to change the world. And then you live within our hearts and we, through righteousness, behold your presence. We continue with the Shema, page 34.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam
Please be seated. We continue with V'ahavta, page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Standing on the far shore of the Sea of Reeds, our ancestors sang in honor of their own aching muscles. Sore from slogging through the mud of the seafloor And they sang in honor of the miracle of their freedom. Ozi v'zimrat Yah vayihi li lishua. My strength and God's song rescued me. Every time Jews have fled from persecution and oppression, from the Inquisition, from the czars, from Ethiopia, from Hitler and beyond, it has taken our own labor and effort, our own aching muscles and bleeding fingers, and it has taken miracles. Not every miracle is as visible or dramatic as the parting of the sea. Sometimes a miracle is an extra space found in a caravan or on a ship, a kind neighbor sharing food or hiding children, paperwork lost or paperwork found. Sometimes a miracle is being welcomed in by strangers who become friends. As we prepare to sing Mi Chamocha on page 40, we remember the effort and the miracle that brought us out of Egypt, and we commit ourselves this year to bring the miracles for the newcomers in our midst, to offer the support and welcome once extended to our ancestors, to those most in need of it today, to lifting their burdens, easing their efforts, and being for them a song of God.
Yay la la la, yay la la la, yay la la la, la 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 la, yay la la la, yay la la la, yay la la la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, yay la la, la la ya la. Ali Madonai, mi kamocha, neda bakodesh, no ratahilot, o sefele, no ratahilot, o sefele, balechutecha ra uvanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe uMiriam, zeni, anu veyomeru,
Mark Teitelbaum and I are going to share a reading that will lead us into Hashkivenu on page 43. That's fine, yeah. Okay. May we see the spark of holiness in all that we do. May the light of God guide us through the darkness.
May our prayer strengthen us, urging us to be present for those who are suffering.
May we become a messenger of caring and compassion, a partner with God in the work of healing.
May we be guided to fight injustice and to love peace and harmony.
May God's blessing be with those who are in our hearts as we utter this prayer.
May all that is good in life lead us to passion and radiance.
Amen.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, L'shalom. העמידנו, שומרנו לחיים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, השכיבנו, אדוני אלוהינו, השכיבנו לשלום.
It's on us. It was on us from the moment our ancestors were first forced to leave home, charged with transforming their wandering into a blessing for all people. It has been on us since that wandering became encoded in our DNA from Avram Ha'ivri, Abram, the one who crossed over, to Ha'ivrim, to the Jewish people, all of us inheriting the legacy of centuries of crossing from one home to another. As our people became a refugee people, we took on the sacred responsibility to see our story as bound up with the stories of all who continue to wander. We continue now on page 46 with the tefillah. All who are able, please rise.
Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Oh God, open up my lips as I begin to pray. Oh God, open up my lips as I begin to pray. Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, L'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasvei Avot Be'imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham, Bezrat Sarah. Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayeh Kol Atara Behoshia. Mashiv Haruach U'Morid Hada Hashem. Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayeh Hakol Berachamim Rabim. Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim. Umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha ba'gevurot, umido melach, melech mimit, umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman ata lahachayot ha'kol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh ha'kol. Ata kadosh shemcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh.
Please be seated. We take this time in our service to think of the things for which we are grateful and feel blessed and appreciative this Shabbat. There are things that we think of ourselves and share privately, and those we might want to share more publicly. So we have the microphone here. If you'd like to share things for which you feel gratitude, we offer you this time.
Thank you, Rabbi and Cantor. Nice to be here as usual every week. I have a lot of gratitude for that and can't help but think in July I'll be missing this place and some of you, hopefully not all of you. I have gratitude for the week that's gone by and to be here with Matthew and Lily and Reagan. Certainly a lot of gratitude for that. And I have advanced gratitude for Riley's birthday party tomorrow, which I will be at, yes, Matthew's dear friend. And later in the evening, a camp out. Right, thanks, Johan. Right, and a camp out with Matthew later in the evening tomorrow. So busy weekend, and then our meeting of the board and transition task force on Sunday. Lots of good things coming up. So thank you, everyone.
I just wanted to say that I'm so grateful to be here tonight and last week with the tribute that Henry Wolf gave to my father. And then tonight, seeing Rabbi Salkin here just transforms me 30 years ago when he bat mitzvahed me in this exact chapel. And Cantor was she was a new Cantor at the time. And so all of the songs that I still remember from my childhood, I learned from you.
Wow.
And it just feels so good to be here, especially knowing that, we may not be here past July, but I feel very full tonight with gratitude. So, yeah, thank you.
I am grateful to be with my colleague, Jeff Salkin, again. It's been many, many, many years, but he is responsible in many ways for my coming to Temple Israel because I had taken a year off. I'd taken a year off from Hebrew Union College in New York City because my stomach had lots of issues. I came home for a year to rest it up, and no sooner was I home when Jeff called me and said, I think I've got a rabbi that's going to really like you. And the rest is history or commentator.
And in terms of blessing and gratitude, I'm thankful to be back with you this Shabbat. Last week, I was with our confirmation class in Washington, D.C. with 495 other teens from across the country, a Jewish community, and having that community together, along with 3 parents with me as well, and spending the time there and having Havdalah at the Jefferson Memorial, visiting the Holocaust Museum, and then they were amazing in their lobbying with our representative on Monday, who was there. Her staff person was very receptive to their different areas of concern. So it was a very exciting time. The underlying piece here of the time that we have in these 4 months is one of these things that's on top or under or whatever. So I want to remind you that next Friday night after services during the Oneg, we're going to have another congregational conversation time to talk about feelings, because I'm sure there's a lot of different kinds of feelings, and while we cherish being together and remembering things from the past, also there is that sense of where is everyone going and what is happening. So I lift up the ability that we have to be able to speak with one another, to share one another, and to hold one another in these kinds of times together, both in celebration and both in challenges and struggles and in forging new pathways. So as a piece of the things to be considering at this time. On page 58, at the bottom of the page, for all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lehodot. We continue praying silently. The words in our own hearts or minds are one of the prayers you'll find in your prayer books on page 62 or 63.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Grant us peace, give us courage to face another day. Let your words of hope call us to pray. In every time and season, every heart must be open. In our prayers and blessings, that's when love is spoken. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Gather us, your people, in friendship and hope. Yisrael, a shelter for all. In every time and season, every heart must be open. In our prayers and blessings, that's when love is spoken. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
This time in our service, we offer a prayer for healing for those in need of our prayers, and I will pause and look around. If you have names you want to share aloud, you may do so at that time, or those that we share silently as well. Oh God, in our hearts, we name those who are facing illness and pain, and we join our prayers with the prayers of all who love them. Wendy Salzman and Donald Salzman as well. I also we pray for the complete recovery of all those injured in the car ramming terrorist attack earlier yesterday in northern Israel, and also for the souls of those hostages whose bodies have returned home to Israel, including 4 more this week, and for their loved ones as well. Give them renewed comfort and courage, and strengthen in them the healing powers you have placed within us all. Guide the hands and the hearts of those who are entrusted with their care. May the knowledge of your love and ours give added hope to them and to their dear ones, and may they find even greater strength because our prayers are linked with theirs. Baruch atah Adonai Rafeh HaChalim, we praise you, God, the source of healing and health, as together we sing. Are we singing or not
do it?
singing? Yeah, we can
Okay.
sing.
Then we're doing
Sing Misha Beirach on page 253.
Mishbeirach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Hu Yevarech Virapeh Et HaCholim Elna Rifanala Elna Rifanala Elna Rifanala Elna Rifanala Mishbeirach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Hu Yevarech Virapeh Et HaCholim Hu Yevarech Virapeh Et HaCholim.
It is my honor to welcome Rabbi Jeffrey Salkin to the pulpit. Rabbi Salkin and I have, this is the second time we have followed one another in a congregation. The last one was after he left Temple Israel. He went to Doylestown, Pennsylvania, was there for 5 years, and I followed directly after him for 9. This time, so we had 40 years in between us, but here we are together at Temple Israel of Greater Miami. Rabbi Salkin has published, I think, 11 books or more now, 11 books, and his last one is Tikkun Ha'am, Repairing Our People, Israel and the Crisis of Liberal Judaism. He is involved with quite a number of efforts in our community, including a whole new learning realm, Wisdom Without Walls, that you can check into and find out. And actually, Yiska Smith is their teacher this Sunday, who we had here last year. So it is an online salon for Jewish ideas, and is always thinking in many different directions. So Rabbi Salkin has been many places in the country and only left Florida more recently. As I came down here, he came to New Jersey to be closer to grandchildren. And so we understand the Poles of family as well, and I'm so thrilled that you were able to come back down and to be with us here this evening. And to, when you gave me the date and I said it's Refugee Shabbat, I said, oh, have I got something to talk about for all of us this evening? So you are really here to hear Rabbi Salkin and not to hear me. And I welcome you warmly to our pulpit, back to the pulpit. I don't know how often you were in this space as opposed to the Abbas Sanctuary, as opposed to the Kendall location, but welcome, and you have a microphone to put it whatever height works best for you. So we can move this over and make it work for you, however it will work best. Move this out of the way for you.
So a man goes to a funeral. It was one of his best friends who died, and he approaches the widow, and he says to her, "I have only one thing to say to you." And she asks him, "What is that?" He said, "I have one word: plethora." Her eyes fill with tears. And she says, "Thank you. That means a lot." It means a lot to be here. And it means a lot to be in the presence of my colleague, Rabbi Goldman Wartel, to enjoy the friendship and the company, once again, of Mark and Mark, and the competence of Alana Bernstein, and all of you. But it means a lot to be here because I've been thinking about what happened at the SNL at 50 special several weeks ago. It began with one poll and it ended with another poll. Two polls of polls. Paul Simon sings at the beginning, "Homeward Bound," and at the end, Sir Paul McCartney sang the final words of the Beatles' final album, Abbey Road, "Once there was a way to get back homeward." And this is me, homeward bound, and celebrating the way to get back homeward. Exactly 44 years ago, almost to this day, I first came to Temple Israel to interview to be your assistant rabbi. At that time, we were in this glorious downtown cathedral synagogue, and we also had a facility in Kendall of blessed memory. The facility, not the community. Miami was very different then. We didn't have Nouvelle cuisine. We didn't have fancy, world-famous chefs working in Wynwood. I don't think there was a Wynwood. We didn't need to make reservations at places with valet parking. We had Wolfie's and Pumpernicks and Rascal House. The lessons I learned in this chapel and in the sanctuary and within the walls of this great institution of Jewish life filled my soul and my mind, and I carried those lessons with me wherever I went. This place is filled with ghosts. There are too many to name. Colleagues, lay leaders. But I think of the ones who are still alive and who I think of often. Some of those who are now in the synagogue on high were among the finest leaders and among the greatest people I've ever known. Others are still with us, like Peter Bermont and Norma and Michael Orovitz, my student, Lori. And seeing Carla here, I remember her parents so well, Dorothy and Maurice of blessed memory. During the Overtown riots in 1982, there were no services. It was not safe to come to the building. So we recorded the service earlier, and your parents had me over for Shabbat dinner, and I had this uncanny out-of-body experience of hearing myself leading services. Your mother was my tutor in social justice. And it is a joy to share this pulpit again after 4 decades with a woman who fulfills the words of our Rabbi Bob Dylan. She is forever young. You are as talented today as the day that we first encountered each other professionally. Like a fine wine, though you have not aged, you have gotten even better. And to be here as to think of my colleague, my friend, my teacher, my surrogate father, Cantor Jacob Bornstein and Joan Bornstein of blessed memory, who had me over for dinner almost every Shabbat except when I was at the Sorotas, and they became my surrogate parents. Most of you don't remember me. If you're watching from afar, maybe you have a dim memory of me. I was only here for 2 years, and I would go on to pursue my career, as assistant rabbis often do. But you must know that this place is in my DNA. Everything I learned here, I brought with me. I am homeward bound. And as you contemplate the end of this story, or this chapter of this great story of Jewish life, what Judaism teaches us is that buildings do not last forever, but the Torah that is within them have a way of being cast to the winds and into the hearts. It is very appropriate that this is Refugee Highest Shabbat, not only because my family has given over the years to Highest. It is more appropriate because in these challenging times, the mission of Highest is more important than ever before. Highest puts it this way: we used to take refugees because they were Jewish. Now we take them because we are Jewish. And I find myself smiling, and this is what your rabbi alluded to. My first High Holy Day sermon that I delivered as an ordained rabbi was on the morning of Yom Kippur, 1981. I actually did not preach it from this pulpit or from the sanctuary. We were in those days at the convention center. But I will tell you that while digging through my files, I actually found that sermon. And for those of you who don't remember it, I will review it for you. But first, for those of you too young to know and to remember, oh, Lori remembers, Carla remembers, Rochelle, you remember what it was like to be in Miami in 1981. A year before that, Fidel Castro had opened his prisons and mental hospitals, flooding this city with refugees. At the same time, Haitians were coming to these shores, many of them drowning in the process, their bodies washed up on the beach of Deerfield Beach. My closest friend in the rabbinate, Rabbi Robert Goldstein, at that time was the assistant rabbi at Beth Am, and he and I were the only two white clergymen to eulogize those poor people at a Haitian church in Little Haiti. The influx of immigrants at that time had strained our patience and our resources and our kindness. A magazine during those days published a piece of black humor that predicted that voodoo drummers would perform on the roof of Dadeland. I was angry that you could buy bumper stickers that plaintively asked the last American in Miami to take the flag with him when he leaves. I began my sermon by invoking the blasts of the shofar, saying that the sages were unclear whether the blasts of the shofar were blasts of mourning or of warning, and I believe that they were both. We had, I said, responded to the rise of refugees in South Florida by engaging in what our prayer book called the sin of xenophobia. They had to go through the entire alphabet, mimicking the Hebrew alphabet, which assigns a Hebrew letter to every sin. And the only sin they could come up with for X, xylophones not being a sin, was xenophobia, the fear of foreigners. And at that time, I did not speak as a liberal, though I am and was. I spoke from the database that I carried within me and that I had inherited from my ancestors. From a moral roadmap, though roadmaps have disappeared and we now have Google Maps and Waze, we still need a way to get back homeward. I thought of the Jewish contribution to the civil rights movement, the memory of Abraham Joshua Heschel. I believed then that the hereditary liberalism of American Jews harkened back to our immigrant period. But beyond that, that innate sense that a world in which any group is oppressed is a world in which Jews will be oppressed as well. I quoted then and have quoted since the words of the late Julius Lester. I must learn to carry my suffering as if it were a long-stemmed rose that I offer to humanity. I do that by living with my suffering so intimately so as to never do something that will intensify the existence of evil in the universe. On Yom Kippur morning, 1981, I invoked the words of the Torah. The commandment that is most repeated in the Torah, rumor has it 36 times, to love the stranger as yourself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Notice that it does not say that we should love the stranger out of any inner altruism, or that we should love the stranger, which, by the way, does not mean affection. Love in the Torah actually means that you're in a covenantal relationship of concern and care. To be clear, you can actually love those whom you do not like. But I made it clear as well that to read the Hebrew, Ve'ahavta hager kamocha, you shall love the stranger as yourself. Even then I was playful with Hebrew and I decided to chop up the verse and it became Ve'ahavta hager kamocha. You shall love. The stranger is like you. And yet it is that I come to this week's Torah portion, and I find myself in this beautiful chapel, designed by my old friend, I underscore the word old, Ken Treaster, who is now 95 years old. And I look at this ark, which I opened so many times, and I need to tell you something in case no one ever informed you of this. The design of the ark is to mimic the cherubim in this week's Torah portion, those angelic figures who sit upon the ancient ark and their faces are turned towards each other to look at each other. One of my part-time jobs these days is I tutor rabbis on how to give sermons. They call me up. They say, Jeff, I need a sermon. And I said, when we think of the cherubim, the faces of children on this Shabbat, there's only one text in my mind. And that is those beautiful, beautiful children, the Bibas children. Cherubim, killed by evil people. We must name this as evil, the darkest evil of our time. But they look at each other. The late French Jewish thinker Emmanuel Levinas taught that our societal obligations begin the moment we see someone's face. To look someone in the face is to ipso facto automatically be obligated by them. And that is who we are with refugees. Two stories, one from this place, another from Washington, D.C. While preparing for this sermon, a memory came back to me. It is a fuzzy memory, and I may have it distorted. Someone will tell me I got it wrong. But at an Oneg Shabbat in 1981 or 1982, you need to understand something, friends. You realize that was only 36 years after Auschwitz. And this congregation, and this was true in all of Miami and Miami Beach, this was the Garden of Eden for Holocaust survivors. Imagine what it was like to have stood in the snow in sub-freezing weather with no shoes, and then years later to be able to stand in the surf on Miami Beach and not need shoes. And there was a couple at the Oneg Shabbat who were members here. I think I have this right. And someone said to me, you see them? They jumped off the St. Louis as the ship of fools, the refugee ship from Germany, that no nation would take, which passed by Miami Beach, they jumped overboard and they swam ashore. They were refugees. This congregation was filled with them. This city was filled with them. They were us. And then today at lunch, a friend of mine told me that in 1992, when President Clinton was trying to figure out how best to help Soviet Jews who were leaving at that time the no longer Soviet Union, many going to Israel, others coming to the United States, there needed to be a way for those refugees to come to America. And a broad coalition of refugee organizations gathered in Washington with Jewish organizations to lobby for Soviet Jews to be able to come to America. A man from La Raza, the Mexican group for refugees, said to my friend, "We were here for you today. Someday you must be there for us." Today that moral check is ready to be cashed. This is who we are. Now, friends, I will be the first to admit, when it comes to immigration, the system is broken, but we did not need a blowtorch. We needed a screwdriver. We needed a conversation, not a scream. We have needed wisdom and we have required nuance, and there is a serious deficit of both of those in this nation today. Exactly a month ago, the Trump administration terminated temporary protected status for close to, are you ready, 350,000 Venezuelans who have lawful status to live and work in this country. And that will place them in immediate risk of deportation after April. To return to Venezuela is to return to the gates of death. Their lives are at stake. I would think that many of them are our neighbors. It means a lot. Plethora means a lot, and it means a lot to be here, especially on this Shabbat. To know that Highest does its work because we of all Americans know the heart of the stranger. Highest does its work because we of all Americans know that the stranger is like us. But know as well, as we come to Shkiat HaChoma, the sunset of this chapter of Miami Jewish history, know and take to heart what I said. Buildings disappear, communities don't. because meaning does not disappear. Because the Torah is in the scroll and in our hearts, and it will go forth from here. It means a lot to be back here. I was once young, and now I've grown old. 70 years old. But in the words of our rabbi, Bob Dylan, I was so much older then. I'm younger than that now. Shabbat Shalom.
It's a good thing we have the hook-on microphone so I don't have to worry about changing the height of things. We are going to continue with a prayer for our country, and I have selected a special prayer written by Rabbi Ayelet S. Cohen. Our God and God of our ancestors, bless this country and all who dwell within it. Help us to experience the blessings of our lives and circumstances, to be vigilant, compassionate, and brave. Strengthen us when we are afraid. Help us to channel our anger so that it motivates us to action. Help us to feel our fear so that we do not become numb. Help us to be generous with others so that we raise each other up. Help us to be humble in our fear, knowing that as vulnerable as we feel, there are those at greater risk and that it is our holy work to stand with them. Help us to taste the sweetness of liberty and to not take for granted the freedoms won in generations past or in recent days. To heal and nourish our democracy that it may be like a tree planted by the water whose roots reach down to the stream. It need not fear drought when it comes. Its leaves are always green. Amen. We continue with the Aleinu on page 282, and we do the text that begins in the middle of the page.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. We turn to page 294 as we prepare for the mourner's Kaddish. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. Tonight, we read the name of Sylvia Rosen, who died during the past month, and we read the names of the following who were buried this past week, whose bodies were returned from Gaza: Oded Lifshitz, Shiri Ariel, and Kmir Bibis, Sachi Idan, Shlomo Mansour, Yitzchak Elgarat, and Ohad Yahlomi. We read the names of the following people whose yard sites occur at this time, and when I read the name of your loved one, please rise. Elvin Baxt, Edna Brigida, Nathan Bernstein, Martha Blumenthal, Samuel Isaac Bobrow, Edward Brandstatter, William Brown, Harold Buckman, Nettie Sandler Bolbin, Barry Dabowski, Nathan Hyman Elson, Sally Emmerman, Shepard Faber, Lou Friedman, John David Fried, Pablo Guerrero, Meyer Getz, Mac Goldberg, Samuel Goldman, Barry Goldring, Albert Goodman, Louis W. Gorfine, Albert A. Green, Hetty Guerrero Gross, Elaine Grossman, Gerald Halpern, Betty A. Holtzman, Ray L. Cabot, Jacob Kahn, Rebecca Kaplan, Howard Kempler, Ronald V. Gehent, May Klein, Irving Grover Cobley, Herman Lefkowitz, Belle W. Levin, Daniel Levine, Raymond B. Levine, Lena Levine, Lucille Lichtenstetter, Alexander Leon, Benjamin Mandel, Pearl Mandel, Marie Mann, Edward G. Marshall, Lee G. Meyer, Hyman M. H. Miller, Lillian M. Pepper, Myrtle Pereira, Sarah Parnas, Martin Raff, Irving Rosen, Wolf Roskin, Nathan Roth, George Salkin, Elaine Schoenberger, Dora Schoenthal, Morton Silberman, Naomi Silverman, Rosa Singer, Walter Stern, Michael Tavlin, Joseph Teitelbaum, Anna Trazenfeld, Joseph Ali Tucker, Lester Walder, Oshea Waxenberg, Marion Bierman Weisberg, S. Charles Warblow, Alfred Wool, Joseph H. Wolf, Bertha Wolk. We all rise as together we recite the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, B'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chayei techol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'yimeru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mivarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yithadar v'yitdaleh v'yithalal, Shemei dekudusha b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbachata v'nechemata, Da'miran b'yalma v'imeru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, Hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And together we say, Amen. I'm going to ask you to remain standing and to come over and form, I don't know, it won't really be a circle or a lot of us, but come clustered around here so we can all be together to make Kiddush and Motzi together. I don't see any.
She always leaves a bottle here.
No, I don't. There's not a
first time.
bottle today. Okay. We may have to have people share cups, a couple people together. Yvonne, I'm going to have you take the cup here. Sorry. I know, that's why I'm doing. I'm trying to move things. We've got the space up in the front. Please, yeah.
Good morning. She just woke up.
Okay, so there's room both sides. If you move up, we can all be closer together. There's definitely more room over here, so if you move around.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready? Yes.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Ki banu bacharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim. B'Shabbat kodshecha b'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim.
We have challah to distribute as well. This is the hardest part. Well, here's one for us.
Just give me the key for Kavanagh. Just play it lightly with me. No, that's the Moving song, right? Yeah, you just kind of want it, because it takes so long for them to pass it out. Just kind of get the melody going for me.
It's a little
Just
bit of
play
a
the
slow
melody
process, but we're working on it.
That's it.
I'm coming right back to you. I'm coming over here to you, Lois, and then go behind you. So just a moment.
That was not a big
You're going to
enough
get it,
piece.
absolutely. Here you go. I wasn't forgetting you, I promise.
Yeah, if you just play the melody.
That's true. I won't.
In G, don't we?
Got some? Okay.
Week. I know, but it was, I loved the picture.
Good job. It's here. I'm sorry. No. Here. Take some challah. Lighten my load here. Okay. Here, I want to bring it back here.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. We haven't eaten since dinner, at lunch. Everyone, Hava Nashira.
Havana Shira, Havana Shira, Havana Shira. Let us sing.
Come 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 let us sing.
Havana Shira.
Come let us sing.
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 Havana Shira.
Havana Shira. Havana Shira.
Havana Shira. Let us sing.
Havana Shira. Havana Shira. Havana Shira. Let us sing. Good Shabbos.
Store and for the next Shabbat.
Oh. You ready to get out and go say hi to everybody? Say hi.